You are in for a treat. If you have ever sat working with a group of people and just looked around and wondered, why can't they just see things the way I do? Or why can't I quite understand like what they're doing? Or why aren't they communicating better? Or what, blah, 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 blah. If you felt that at work, or if you felt that within a family dynamic, if you know, you know, then this episode is for you. Nicole Guena, our guest, is fantastic and has such a depth of knowledge and understanding about, interpersonal group dynamics and human design. I can't wait for you to sink your teeth into this, because I just know all of the nuggets that Nicole shared for each one of the human design types are going to save some teams, save some projects, and probably save some marriages. I am not exaggerating. Let's get into this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bold Business Podcast. We have a very special guest in the studio, in the virtual studio today. Nicole Guena is with us. I'm going to introduce her in just a moment, but we're so happy to have you. I just know that this conversation we're going to have is going to be so juicy and so useful, whether someone is an entrepreneur, whether they have a team or are looking at having a team in the future, whether they're a member of a family unit of some kind, a friend unit of some kind, basically for everyone. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat about this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is such a great, like, niche specialty to dive into. It's one that, affects everyone. And yet, I think we spend a lot of time, especially as business owners, focusing on marketing, sales, things like this, and not necessarily how we're working behind the scenes with our people, with our clients, with our team. So I can't wait to get into it. So today we're talking about group dynamics and human design. So let me introduce Nicole and we'll get into the juiciness of this conversation. So Nicole Guena is a human design expert and personal growth and group dynamics coach who helps her clients to fix anything in their lives using human design. Love that. Her journey began in corporate fashion, where she found herself stuck on autopilot, trapped in a cycle of relentless productivity and self-criticism. Discovering human design was Nicole's turning point. It offered validation and insights that nothing else had, helping her develop profound self-compassion and understanding of others. Nicole realized that human design could cut to the core of any individual issue and interpersonal dynamic more effectively than anything she's tried before or since. Witnessing the powerful impact of human design on her life and relationships, Nicole now offers personalized, practical guidance to help clients improve their relationships, find purpose in their career, deepen self-understanding, and experience transformative breakthroughs. Her approach combines compassion with actionable strategies, enabling individuals to create meaningful change in any and all areas of life. So good. I fully agree. We were just having a little natter before we started today and talking about, the different personality systems. And I love that you mentioned Myers-Briggs, you mentioned DISC assessment, which is something that I used in my corporate career. I was so obsessed with it until I discovered astrology and human design. So I want to hear from you. Were you equally as obsessed with all these personality systems, and how did you get into human design? Let us know.
So, yes, I was just as obsessed with all of these systems. But what I would find often is that I would get different results when I would take them different times, because it's so hard to see ourselves clearly. And you're like, well, I'm this way at work, but if I take it about how I am at home in my relationship, then it's different. Or
Mhm.
I'm in a bad mood today, emotional authority here. It
Yep.
really colors the way I'm like seeing myself, seeing the world. So I loved all of those things, but nothing really hit the same as when I discovered human design.
Mm.
And the difference, I had also, like, I always knew Pisces was my sun sign, but I hadn't like super related to that. And I think what really pulled me in when I learned about human design is I was like, there's a strategy.
Yeah.
Like the type A girl in me, which you read in my bio, I was like, hold on here. This is like very practical and actionable. We were just talking about all my earth placements in astrology. I love something that's practical and actionable. So it really like fed that like type A girl in me that was like, okay, I didn't even quite see how spiritual it was. I was just like,
Mm.
okay, it's based on birth info. It super resonates. and it gives me actual like tools to use.
Hmm.
So that was really huge. And I found it at a point where, like you mentioned in my bio, I was working in corporate fashion. I was past my Saturn return, which I had no idea what that was at the time, but I had been feeling very like disillusioned, on autopilot, stuck on the hamster wheel kind of thing. And when I discovered human design, it really just opened my eyes to so much more about, yeah, just kind of like trusting what feels good versus what makes sense.
Hmm.
Something I never really had considered before that. And it really guided me down the path of ending up actually becoming certified to be a health coach, leaving my corporate job. And that was even just with like cursory knowledge of it, like just understanding I was a manifesting generator, just understanding I had a three line. So I was meant to be like trying things, potentially failing, like getting used to that process. So it gave me a lot of resilience, I think, throughout the entire thing to just like do the scary things. And then a couple of years ago, I don't know if you noticed this too, it just felt like all of a sudden there was way more human design information out there.
Yes.
And I was like,
Sudden.
oh, I can like learn more without, paying thousands of dollars to get certified.
Yeah.
And everything was just resonating so much more for me. And that's when like the interpersonal stuff really started to kick in. I got married and it ended up there was some issues in my family dynamics as a result of some things that came up. And I was having a really hard time and therapy was helping, but like not quite so much. And then when I really started to understand the human design of all the players, I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense.
Hmm.
Like you read, it just cuts to the core of everything. And I'm like, now I can so much more easily see what's going on with them, in addition to obviously understanding inner child and all these other psychological dynamics, which I really love digging into. So
Hmm.
yeah, that I don't even know if that really answered your question,
Yes,
but
no, I love it. I love it so much. It's so similar to my story too. It's like the post Saturn return search for purpose, meaning, and alignment, like guided me as well, yeah, towards these cosmic systems. And I surprised myself in like how deep I wanted to go with them and how much I resonated and how validating they were. And I think a lot of people who come to human design are looking for that clarity and understanding, right? Just as you said, when you're dealing with interpersonal issues, which is like every day. I mean, that's like the human experience is us being in relationship with people, whether, for better or worse, through difficulties, through all the things. And a lot of people come to human design because they just want to understand like what is going on with me. And then as soon as you start to get some of those layers of understanding about yourself, it's like, okay, well, now I want to read for my partner, or now I want to read for my kids, or now I want to read for my mother-in-law. Like, what is going on with them? Yeah. And it's wonderful. And I just think that it gives us such an appreciation for the differences and the uniqueness and the beauty in the differences of how we come together and recognize it like we're not crazy, we're just different. So yeah, I love your story. I think that's so good. So why I wanted to ask you about this idea of human dynamics, or sorry, group dynamics, I should say. So you're really passionate about group dynamics. Tell us like what that means and why you're obsessed with it. How did this kind of niche come into your life?
yes. So to me, group dynamics really just means any kind of interpersonal dynamic that's more than just you, which, as you said, is just our life.
Yeah, it's just
So
our life.
basically, for me, again, I said like when I really started to be like, wow, human design is really like actually shifting things for me in the way that I'm like seeing the world was when I was having those issues within my family and I could understand what was happening with other family members based on their design. I could see where those like sticking points were. I could see how we weren't understanding that this is how one person operates and this is how another operates. And we were both expecting us to operate the same as each other instead of as two
Mm,
individual people. And when
yep.
you go through your whole life that way, a lot of resentment and things like that will build up. And then
Yeah.
obviously, when like kind of these big things happen, like a wedding, some of these things can really come to a head.
Hmm.
So that was when I was like, wow, this is like so helpful for me in terms of understanding like my family. So that was
Hmm.
kind of the first interpersonal dynamic.
Hmm.
And then when I was sharing this, actually, I was sharing it with one of my friends and telling her about her chart. And I was talking to her about her undefined throat. And she was like, oh my God, I wish people at work like knew this about me. And I was like, That's interesting. Good point. Because I mean, again, as I mentioned, like I came from the corporate world in the fashion industry, and I mean, they didn't even care to bring Myers-Briggs or DISC or anything like that to
No.
us. But even so, it's like it in the workplace, if you can understand what people's strengths are, how to help them optimally operate, how to form questions for them so you bring the best information out of them, how to see the natural ways that they're meant to communicate, just all of these different things. And then the potential stumbling blocks or sticking points that they can have so you can support them instead of being frustrated. I was like, this would be amazing. And it
Mm.
was so funny because every time I left a corporate job in fashion, they would always say like the one common thread was always like, we're gonna miss your ability to like help the room get along. Because there would always just be like it would be like
Yeah.
different teams were speaking different languages. And like I was like, how can nobody understand that this is what this person is trying to say? And I
Yeah.
literally felt like a translator.
Yes,
And I was
that's
like,
fascinating. Yeah, you're the
yeah,
translator, the person who's able to kind of like bring people together, clarify things, simplify things. Oh my gosh, I love that. So I love as well that your interest and passion for this particular niche within human design came from your own life and your own challenges, right? I feel like that's true for so many of us. Like we struggle with something, but then our struggle becomes our service, right? So good. So for someone who's completely new to human design, who may be listening to this episode, where can they start? Or what do you want to kind of how would you introduce the concept of looking at group dynamics in human design? What are like the first places to start in the charts?
so just like we always kind of say with human design, I feel like type is just the most like comprehensive place for us to start because along with our type comes our strategy. And
Mm,
that is such a key part of this whole process and really kind of looking at strategy as kind of like your communication style. So I don't know if you want me to like go through all of them or just kind of use like generators as an example of like how
ooh,
that looks.
I would love a nugget for each one, maybe. Yeah, if you don't
Yes.
mind. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Something that people could take away and like, okay, start kind of unraveling for themselves after this. Mhm.
Yes. So I would say like the highlights for each type if we were to start with manifestors. And I will say off the top, if you're a manifesting generator out there, pay attention to manifestors, pay attention to generators, but I will also tell you specifically about manifesting generators because you're a hybrid type. And
Mhm.
as a manifesting generator, I don't know if you appreciate this. They always go through them and then say, oh, listen to what I said before.
Yeah.
So I like to say
Yeah.
that
I'm
up the
like, no,
top.
no, no. I mean, I personally, I like to think of us as a fifth type, but you're right. We are a hybrid. And so I appreciate you calling that out. I love it.
Yeah. So for manifestors, it's helpful to know that you're only about 9 or 10% of the population. So you are one of the more rare types. You might feel different from most of the people you work with in the way that your energy functions. And the biggest thing for a manifestor, I will always say, is that you really value your freedom and autonomy. You want
Mm,
to have space to do your own thing and not feel like you're being micromanaged or anybody's breathing over your shoulder. And that is where your communication style comes in, because when that happens, you need to be informing. So
hmm.
let's say you're somebody who likes to be off on your own, kind of working on projects. You need to be checking back in with your supervisor, checking back in with your team. This is what I've been doing. This is how it's going. You need to be keeping people updated. Otherwise, you're creating that feedback loop where then people are bothering you. They are trying to micromanage you because you're so kind of in your own world doing your own thing. So it will feel uncomfortable as a manifester to be using that communication style of like over informing kind of more than you want to, but
Yes.
knowing that that's actually going to help create that freedom and autonomy that you really want to experience.
Oh my gosh, this is gold right here because I feel like so often we end up accidentally working against our strategy and working against our type, trying to seek the primary desire that we have, like you said, which is like freedom and autonomy. And so you're trying to create that, but unfortunately, you're sabotaging yourself. So, what you're helping us with right now through understanding group dynamics and human design is how to not sabotage yourself and how to support yourself in these conversations. Oh, so good. Love that. Okay.
Exactly. And
Manifest.
along with that also comes what I call red and green flag feelings. Each type
Ooh,
has one of each. So your red flag feeling as a manifestor is anger. You're usually going to feel that pop up because you're feeling controlled or because you
mhm,
feel like you can't do things the way you want to do. And
mhm.
what you want to be feeling, your green flag feeling is peace. So it's kind of like I'm chill, I'm doing my own thing, no one's bothering me. And again, if we land in our red flag feeling, the way out of that is your communication style, and that is informing, letting people know what's going on with you.
Oh
So
my
that's
gosh.
like that kind of like
Yes.
full circle thing.
I love your take on this, like the green flag, red flag. I think that's such a good way, for people who are studying human design, the red flags are like you're not self, as you said it,
Yes.
and then you're interpreting the green flags as your signature. I think that's such a great way of looking at it because a lot of times, people feel anger, right? And they're just like, what do I do with this feeling? I just feel angry. But you're showing us how to like alchemize that and channel it to be a reminder, a flag system reminder of like, no, make sure you lean into your communication style, not lean away from it. Oh, genius. So good. Ah, summer. Yes, the time when we sit back, we start to go into deep relaxation and we review and reset. This is when we start to get, we step back and we get this big picture of what's going on, right? Well, we have a special summer sale on here at Cosmic Queen. It's called the Summer of Stars. This is for anyone who has been wanting to really study, who has been wanting to not just kind of know some tips and tricks here and there, some insights here and there about their astrology and human design, but who's actually ready to learn the systems for themselves and to get into a fantastic community in order to support them as they do their personal growth with the cosmic insight. So there are 3 offers that are part of the Summer of Stars sale. You get 10% off right now between July 14th and August 22nd of 2025 off of these courses. Number 1, you can study the star. This is my signature astrology course, on-demand video modules plus workbooks and quizzes and bonus videos from fantastic astrologers where you get to actually learn how to read your own birth chart. But not only that, I'm going to help you to figure out how to support others as well. So this is a super empowering astrology course that you have been looking for. So that's the star. That's number 1. Number 2 in this Summer of Stars sale is the design. This is my human design signature course. Also video, also on demand, also including all the workbooks and quizzes and tools that you need in order to further integrate this knowledge. This is how you really read a body graph for empowering yourself and also empowering others. I'm all about practical magic here and applying what we learn. So everything I teach you about astrology or human design in these courses is very much with this eye on the practical of like, okay, but what does this mean for my life? How am I actually going to use this in my relationships? How can I start to craft my business and my brand using this cosmic insight? And then the third offer included is the Constellation Community. Fresh with a new price, and very soon there will be a new membership platform, which I'm so excited about. So the Constellation Community is the fast growing, fantastic community of your dreams where you get to learn cosmic systems, how to apply them to life, business, and relationships, but commune with others at the same time. We meet monthly and we talk about the upcoming zodiac season. I give you all the key dates and the key insights so that you can learn how to harness these energies for yourself. Plus, there's an incredible course vault of over 23 courses and over 10 meditations. I'm always adding to it. We're always having new guests in the group and we're always up leveling our cosmic empowerment. So if you want to be part of any of these 3 courses or the membership, please do jump in. The summer is a great time to take that step back and invest in yourself and take the time to really study the stars. Now, I'm offering a limited time special bonus for the first 10 people to purchase a course or the membership. For the first 10 people, you get the opportunity to ask me 3 of your burning questions. So this is awesome, right? Because you get to ask the expert, the person who has studied and lived these systems for many years, has used them in her own business. You get to ask about your charts. So anything you want to know, what kind of are the traits of my soulmate? How can I support my kids better with their astrology or human design? What's my personal brand? What's the most magnetic thing about me? The sky's the limit. Ask me your 3 questions, and I would love to send you some recorded audio responses so that you can have that insight to come back to again and again as you take your next steps. All right. As we say around here at Cosmic Queen, we study the stars until we realized we are one. Join us inside. The link is in the show notes. Now back to the episode. Yeah.
Okay, next up are our generators. So here
Okay.
the big thing is really that you want to be doing work that makes you feel good, that you're excited to do, that lights you up. You
Hmm.
don't want to be feeling like you're like toiling away most of the time. You want to feel generally satisfied by the things that you're working on
Hmm.
and being able to like verbalize that to your team. And the big thing that I like to share is that we often feel like because something we hate to do, everybody hates to do it.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of human design is that no, we're all meant to be these different pieces that fit together perfectly. And if we are doing what really makes us feel good and everyone else is doing that too, everything would work out because everyone would find their like natural place, like piece of the puzzle kind of thing.
Hmm.
So just knowing that it's always worth having a conversation of like, I really hate being in spreadsheets, but like I love presenting in meetings. And the other person on your team might be like, oh my God, I hate presenting in meetings. I would rather live in a spreadsheet all day. And then you can divide up the work that way. So opening up that communication is just so huge when it comes to what's lighting you up or what's not lighting you up. And again, the communication thing is obviously across the board and why I just love human design because it just creates this shared language then that people on a team have to be able to share what's like happening for them that other people will now like understand and kind of appreciate.
This is so
So
good. Mm.
yeah,
I have a
so
question for you.
generators, oh yeah,
Yeah.
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. I
No.
just wanted to ask, like, does this, I know that this, translates across to family dynamics as well. Do you find that people find it more difficult or less difficult or easier, to do this in family versus work? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I would honestly say it probably varies
Mm.
because I think it kind of depends where we maybe feel like we have more to lose and we feel like we need to like play a specific part. So for some of us we would feel more scared to be vulnerable at work.
Yeah.
Whereas some of us, we feel more scared to be vulnerable at home and at work. We're kind of like, whatever, I don't care if these people like me. So I kind of, I think it's like very individual, like based on like the
Yes.
relationship that the person has to like either dynamic. So I would say the crux of it is more where we feel safest to be vulnerable and kind of like put it all out there and maybe risk something. And that
Mm.
could look different for different people depending on their comfort levels.
Mm, that is so wise, I think what you just said. Yeah, because I think I can see a lot of people, pick would you suggest that people like if they're starting on this personal growth and development work to choose the one that's like less emotionally charged for them?
Yes, I think that's a great place to start. I mean, I think with everything, it's just wherever you can take the baby steps and build in the awareness. And yes,
Mhm.
it's kind of like the lower risk situation. So you can build up a little bit of that trust muscle of like, okay, this is like actually working. So
Yeah.
now I feel like I have the space to be bringing it somewhere else. And
Mhm.
also just kind of like where, like, if people feel in touch, like this whole system really just helps you feel in touch with trusting yourself in general, trusting your version of what intuition is. So if part of you is just like, I don't know, it just makes sense for me to do this at work first, like trust that.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, if I want anyone to take anything away from human design, typically it's trust yourself. It's kind of like the underlying thing of all of it.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree. So apologies, I did interrupt you as you were
No.
talking about generators and sharing their satisfaction. Was there anything else you wanted to share about that?
Yes. So then for their communication style, generators do best with yes or no questions because what we want to engage with them is like a visceral response. We're
Hmm.
trying to get out of like the mental logical and into this like visceral, energetic, like gut reaction to something. So when you ask a yes or no question, it's really helpful. And generators in general are meant to be in response. So an example for me at work would be like, I don't know, someone on my team would be like, "Oh, I need to pull this report together for you. How do you want it to look?" And I'd be like, so I'd, say something, they do it, then they'd bring it back to me and I'd be like, "Oh, well, move this, change that." And I'd feel terrible because I'd be changing so many things, but when I didn't have anything to respond to, it felt so hard to pull something out of thin air. So just
Mm.
knowing when you're working with someone that's a generator, they need something kind of more solid to be in response to, and that's how you're going to get the best like feedback from them or like make the whole process as efficient as possible. And then it also helps with kind of that just like yes or no thing. And the
Mm.
visceral thing I've noticed too is like when we're living it, especially if we're really not used to paying attention to our body and being in our heads, it's hard sometimes to like sense what that feeling is.
Hmm.
Um, I always say it's kind of like a sitting straight up, pulled towards something feeling is a yes, and like kind of like slump back in your chair is like the no. But it also is helpful for people on their teams to know, like, oh, I'm looking at you and I can tell you don't want to do this. Like it's obvious to me observing you. So that's like also why it's helpful in the group dynamics to be able to like call these things out to each other.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So
And I can see that working really well in a family as well. If you're like, okay, you've been on your own for a while. Is there something that you want to let me know you're working on? Like, I'd love to be in touch so that I can like, figure things out. Like for a manifester, and then for generators to be like, given options, right? Like, okay, we've got spring break coming up. Do you want to do this or this, right? And giving options, and instead of just saying, what do you want to do as a blank page, that I can see absolutely just being so supportive to like parents with kids and, partners, etc., living and working together. So perfect.
absolutely.
Okay, generators, perfect. Mhm.
So that's that communication style is that like responsive nature and that visceral response that we're checking in with. And there, the red flag feeling is frustration. So
Mhm.
really what that typically feels like is it's like frustrated energy. It's like you have energy, but it doesn't know where to go. You kind of don't know what to do next. You feel overwhelmed. You feel drained. It's like, like as a form of a generator, like I know the feeling well, and I'm sure people will probably resonate with that kind of a feeling. So
Mhm.
when you are in that place, you want to be again responding to something, so having someone ask you a yes no question, making it as like simple as possible to kind of like get back to one thing, respond to that thing viscerally and move forward that way, as opposed to getting really stuck in our heads.
Mm.
And we want to then bring us to that green flag feeling with it, which is satisfaction. So it's kind of that feeling of like, oh, like that felt good, I'm so happy I did that, like that was a good thing to use my energy on, is like that feeling that we're really looking for.
I love that. I remember when, so as a manifesting generator, part of this is for me too, right? And I remember when I was, trying to figure out what my next job was going to be. I just knew that my current career in tech as a management consultant was not working. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. So I started a side hustle, which was working with creating wellness events and managing them for people. So I wasn't the talent, but I was the manager and the event planner. And I just remember the deep sense of satisfaction that I felt, even though I wasn't like the side hustle was not making money. I had never felt so satisfied after putting so much effort into something as I did when I was working for myself and working in wellness and, supporting my practitioners and coaching them. It was incredible. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is the feeling that I haven't felt before that I've been looking for. And so it's like those stepping stones of that green flag helped lead me to starting my coaching business like a year later. So it was just, yeah, I love it. It's such a powerful green flag satisfaction. It's so
Totally agree.
potent, and we got to pay attention, right? We got to pay attention to it. Mm.
Totally agree. And the other thing I will say about generators is that they love a kind of step by step methodical process. So that also kind of helps people too when they think about their work life. Like they're like, okay, or when a child is like learning, like there's so many different, or, again, if you're, which we're going to get to manifesting generators in a minute, we like to pivot and switch things up. And your partner is a generator. It just helps so much to understand they're still on the original thing you started methodically working through it. And you're on like step 10 over there, totally in a different place, and that is the way that you're meant to operate, and like just having that understanding is so helpful.
Definitely, definitely. I'm just laughing
So
because that's
as
definitely me.
yeah, exactly. Same. So as a manifesting generator, again, we're a fifth type, but we're like a hybrid of these two. So what I was saying about generators, where we're really meant to be doing the things that really light us up, that make us feel like energized, passionate, like that's what we're looking for too as a manifesting generator. You'll just find that you are multi-passionate. You're being pulled in a lot of different ways. You like your day to look different day to day. Maybe a generator likes to kind of know what they're going to do, come in and do a similar thing day to day. As a manifesting generator, you want things to be different. You want variety. You want things to be able to switch things up. And
Mhm.
that is some of that manifesting energy of wanting that like freedom and autonomy to do things your way. So you're
Mhm.
kind of looking for both of those things, that freedom and autonomy to switch things up, and that feeling like lit up. And it's going to happen naturally because the things that light you up are going to be pulling you in different directions. That's just like the natural way your energy works as a manifesting generator. And then it comes back to those same, again, communication styles. So you want those yes or no questions as much as possible, having something to respond to viscerally,
Mhm.
but you also do want to be informing when you're pivoting. because again, you could be on step 10 over in the other room and your husband's still on
Yeah,
step
this
one
is
in the other place. Yeah. So it's
this
like,
is where I
just let him know
struggle.
what's happening. Yeah. And
Yeah,
this
this
is,
is where I struggle with the informing. Do you as well? I really struggle to let people know. It's like I'm so far ahead. It's not because I'm trying to keep it quiet. It's because I'm just so many steps ahead that I forgot to tell them I was even turning in this direction. And that's happened with things like house moves. That's happened with things like starting a new branch of my business. That's happened with things like, new programs, price changes. It's happening right now as we speak. Like, so
yes.
informing. Okay, amazing.
Yes, that's one that I have found a lot because in the human design space, people can be kind of like, your manifesting generators are generators and your strategy is just to respond. But I have found every time that I mention with a client a manifesting generator to inform, it's like this huge transformative thing. And it
Definitely.
really like opens the door to so many things. I recently worked with these three co-founders that were friends that started their own thing.
Mm,
And like that was just like such a huge unlock for them. So I just have found like that. I think
yeah.
that's such a big piece for manifesting generators is that informing.
Me too, me too. I mean, yeah, we are, I like to think of it as 80-20, where 80% generator, 20%,
Mm,
manifester. And absolutely, my clients, there's a clear distinction between generators and MGs for sure. So I'm on the same page as you.
yes. And to second the other thing you said, but it doesn't mean that I'm doing all the things that I tell other people to do. I think that that's the
We're in
whole
our
thing.
experiment too. We're in the experiment.
Exactly. We are not perfect by any means, but this is what we want to be doing more of.
Yes.
Um, and then same thing with those red and green flag feelings, because you're a hybrid, you might be experiencing anger from feeling controlled or that frustration, that energetic frustration of, I don't know where to move next. I'm overwhelmed kind of thing. And that's when you lean into your responding and informing so that you can then experience your peace and your satisfaction. So
Mhm.
that's like that hybrid combo.
Yes.
Then we'll move into projectors. So projectors are our wise guides. Like what they really have to offer is this ability to see how things can be optimized, how systems can be improved upon, how people can be put in like different positions that are better for them. Like they just have a way of like seeing into a process or a person and really being able to optimize it.
Mhm.
And the thing here is that they really want to be focused on the things that they see versus the output that they're creating. So a lot of the other types have more energy. So they're like doing more. But a projector is really more about like, I'm looking at this process and these are my takeaways. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I have to offer about something is more that point of view because they have less energy than other types. So
Mhm.
they really need to be resting more.
Mhm.
And in our culture, especially when it comes to work, but really anything, there's so much focus on productivity and output and hustle and all of that kind of stuff. And for a projector, it's really about unlearning that, untangling that, and knowing that your value is in your insights.
Mm.
So
Okay.
that's a really big part of that.
That I've never heard anyone quite put it that way. Can you explain that a bit more about how you said, with projectors, it's about focusing on what they're seeing right in front of them versus the final result? Is that what you're saying? Tell us more about that. That's really cool.
It's more about focusing on the way you see things and your insights about them versus like doing something, like
Okay. Okay.
creating something.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
more
So
sense
it's
now?
about the advice and consulting that you're doing versus the execution.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I got it. I was just like, ooh,
Yes.
that's such a cool way of saying it. Really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so much of it is that like observing piece. So knowing that like the fact that you're taking in all this information is so much of what you're bringing to the table. But knowing that there is this whole thing when it comes to projectors about needing to be recognized before you share your insights.
Mhm.
So this is because you can so easily see into things, it's almost like you need consent before you're about to like drop a bomb on somebody that
Yep.
they like might not be ready to hear. So, in a work setting, there usually is some degree of recognition and invitation that exists based on your role. So, this is something that like you need to play with. But this
Mhm.
is something that's really important when I share it with teams is that when you have a projector on the team, invite them to share their insights. Like,
Mhm.
know the importance of seeing that they have something to share. And when you recognize them, invite them to do so, that
Mhm.
really is the way that you bring out the best in them versus like a manifester wants their freedom. So Like it's just totally different ways of engaging with an employee so that you bring out the best from them. And same thing if you think about like a child too or a partner. Like knowing that it's like, okay, I need to be like making it really clear that I want their insights and that I'm recognizing their expertise in these areas. And
Mhm.
that is when they really can like blossom into their fullest expression.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's that communication style that I talk about with projectors, is that like them kind of getting like used to the language of like recognizing and inviting, because it kind of creates that feedback loop where somebody will end up doing the same for them, and using their communication as well to just kind of make it clear that they do have expertise in these areas without feeling like it's any kind of invasive advice if it's not invited. Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Yes, it's a dance. I feel like with
Yes.
projectors, there's this dance of like, I'm visible. Well, they need to be visible so that they can be invited. And then once they're invited, drop their wisdom. But it's almost like you want to give people a sizzle reel, a preview of what you could, what you could be advising on,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
they can invite you in for the deeper analysis.
Exactly. And
Mm,
for there, the red flag and the green flag, the red flag is bitterness. So it is this feeling of like, nobody's inviting me, nobody's listening. When I do share my insights, it just feels like nobody cares and nobody's
mhm,
doing it. Or it could be because you're just grinding too much and you're not recognizing your energy levels and actually giving yourself the break that you need. And then that's when you need to, I do say the other like kind of communication style for a projector is like communicating with yourself of, do I need rest and do I need to take it? That's
uh-huh,
that other thing. Because usually when you're experiencing bitterness, it's because you need to slow down and give yourself a little bit of a beat, or because you need to be waiting for that invitation. So then you're checking back in again to your communication style so that you can experience success. And what success really feels like is like, I'm like, things are in flow, things are working out, and I'm doing it my way. I'm
mm,
resting the way that I'm meant to. People are taking my advice. It's working. It's like that feeling of like, yes, I'm like in my guide energy, doing it my way. And like, it
mhm,
feels really good.
yeah, love that. Love that. Mhm.
And then we'll do, I mean, reflectors are very, very rare, only
Yeah,
1% of the
let's do reflectors.
population. But
Yes.
reflectors, really, your whole magic is being able to mirror back what is happening in a group dynamic. Like, reflectors are meant to be in the middle of a group and, like, totally giving us a sense of what the health is of a group that we're in, like how it's functioning, and really being able to pull insights out that nobody else would be able to see, because
Mm,
they just have so much sensitivity to the energy of other people and environments, and they would just have this like objective, unbiased intel of how we can actually be our best selves. So if you have a reflector in your group, like you're blessed, whether it
yes.
be in a family and a work environment, because you're getting some crazy special intel that can really help you up level. So
Yes.
really listening to like what those reflectors have to share, and the communication style there again is inviting them to share what they're seeing. And then it also is allowing them space,
Hmm.
because space and time, I reflector needs time to make decisions, time to understand things, time to like work through things and offer back feedback. So just knowing that like they're going to need to be given a certain degree of like space and yeah, time to just get back to people, and like that they kind of need to be handled differently than most people in a workplace environment,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly.
I agree. I would say, yeah, not pushing, not forcing, not, and it's interesting because, it's up to the reflector as well to communicate their needs and how they need to work too. Like I was very lucky to work for a very, I would say, progressive, boutique agency, tech agency right before I left to, go into my business full time. And they were very, careful and aware of asking people about how do you need to work? Do you need to work from home? Do you need to have more space and time? Do you need to, and making allowances and creating an environment that works for all people. And I think learning about the human design of reflectors can, I think, make you a much more open, compassionate, and like understanding person. That if you truly want to get the best out of your team, then you will figure out how to get the best out of your team, not force and push and like put pressure, because that's never how you get the best. Like it's really not. There's been so many studies even on elite athletes and people in social working situations of like, and people with illnesses of like, how do you get the best? It's not through the whip. It's not through like self-flagellation and like pressure. It's actually through people working together towards a common vision. And it's more of the positive carrot rather than the stick. So anyway, I love that kind of little, it just came to me as you were talking about making allowances for people. I think this is really important, for the future of work.
100%. 100%. And knowing that like a reflector's sensitivity is their biggest gift
Yeah.
and to honor that as opposed to make them feel like they're being too difficult or taking too
Yeah.
long or like just
Yeah.
understanding like truly what that sensitivity means. And
Exactly.
for them, their red flag feeling is disappointment. So because they are so taking in their environment, different people, situations, they feel really different from day to day. And you can feel disappointed if you end up expecting to feel the same as you did yesterday. Basically, a
Mm,
reflector is meant to be really kind of like flowing through life, making sure that you are as much like being in touch with things that feel good, letting that kind of be what guides you along the way of flowing.
mhm.
But you don't want to feel like it needs to feel the same as yesterday or like this is who I am all the time because it is that flexibility and sensitivity that makes you who you are. And that is when you can experience your green flag feeling, which is surprise. So it's kind of like, I don't know how I'm going to feel today. It depends who shows up. It depends how they feel. But like, that's the beauty of how my energy works. And again, when they are surprised, then those insights come through and those things that they can share that just help to up level the entire group.
Oh, makes so much sense. I love that. Thank you. You gave us so many nuggets for each one of the types. That was brilliant. I just know that people listening are going to get so much from this. And I hope everyone, immediately is going to go out and look at their family charts and their coworkers' charts and their team's charts, because this is going to really support people in just having better results and smoother communication. Are there any other, like, how would you articulate like the benefits, of using human design with your teams?
I mean, communication is a huge thing, especially like I feel like I kind of keep defaulting to work, but it's true for any group dynamic. But I mean, communication is like the number one reason that things go wrong in an office setting.
Yeah.
But when you think about it as far as like personally too, when you have these tools and you understand how somebody naturally operates, how you can support them, you can have like the hard, vulnerable conversations, but with tools so
Hmm.
that you have a better chance of it actually going well and actually having people be heard. Because I think the biggest thing that I've learned throughout all of these things is that like keeping things to ourselves and bottling things up and not being honest and people please, like none of that is working.
Hmm.
And the more that we can be open and honest, the more truly close we can all be, the more like better functioning an office can be because we're actually working together cohesively instead of like being annoyed at each other about things. And in a
Yeah.
family, obviously, like there's just so much more like love and compassion and closeness that can develop when you're just having the real conversations. And I feel like human design is just the perfect tool for allowing people to do that in the most like compassionate and like informed possible way.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I love what you were saying about, it's also about, uh, I mean, you didn't use exactly these words, but I was thinking about, when I used to use disc assessment in corporate as well, a lot of times issues go unaddressed in a team because people are afraid of hurting someone's feelings, or they don't know how to bring stuff up, right? Because it feels so personal because you're literally talking about someone's personality and like the way that they work and the way that they communicate. Whereas if you bring in a tool, it's so much less, I would say, emotional. And that's kind of what I feel like you were sharing, is that, you can talk about the tool rather than talking about, well, Bob never tells us what he's working on. Like you can
Yeah.
you can be like, well, Bob is a manifester. Let's understand how to support Bob in his job better and how he can support the team with his skills as well.
Yes.
Right.
And right off the top, you're like, oh, wow, I see Bob in a totally new light now. And I don't
Yes.
think that he's just like, I know, whatever you were previously thinking. It's like, oh, this is just how he operates. and
Yeah.
you just didn't have the tools to know how to like bridge that gap.
Yeah, or
So
the
yes,
language to
exactly.
explain what was needed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. You're going to save people. Yeah, I bet. Like, have you had people tell you that like you literally saved their business or their marriage? I bet you have. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny when I work with people in business settings, they always say like, you need to do this for couples. And I'm like, I do.
I do. You're like, here's my card.
Yes.
What this is so great. What are the you already talked about, the biggest mistakes that people make by type, and you gave us some amazing tips of what we can start doing today. But are there any other big mistakes that you see when people kind of first start learning, say I'm a mom and I've got some interpersonal stuff going on in my family and I'm starting to look at everyone's charts and I'm starting to form some opinions or beliefs about how this needs to go. What are some mistakes that you see people make when kind of starting to work with this group dynamics and with their human design that we can just be aware
Yeah. I think when I work with people, it's always seemed to go smoothly because it's really just again, like we were saying, opening up the communication of like these are because I'm also not walking in and being like, this is how you are because you're a
of?
manifester. It's like this is likely what you're experiencing. Does this resonate? And they're like, yeah. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it just starts to open up the conversation of like, how do you feel? What does feel good? What does feel bad? Like how do we like actually start communicating about things? I
hmm
could see maybe like if people were digging into things on their own because there can sometimes be information out there that's maybe like not so empowering. And even like, let's say, I feel like some people might think like, oh, you're bringing human design to the workspace. So you're going to say that manifestors should be leaders and generators should be doers. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
gosh, don't get me
no, that's
started.
not
Yeah.
like, yeah, all of these things are like not, that's not the way that the system's like meant to be used, or at
Yeah,
least not the way that I want to use it. So I
agreed.
think that could be maybe more like where the misconceptions can come in because I
Mhm.
think some of the old languaging can be a little bit disempowering sometimes,
Yeah.
depending on what your design is.
I agree. And so like what you're talking about is kind of some old school language that exists in some circles in human design where it's like very prescriptive about the rules that people should have. Like projectors should always be managing everyone and then, generators should always be doing the work and just like taking orders from the projectors. Like I've heard that directly from people's mouths and I think it's ridiculous. And it's a misunderstanding, I think, of how our skill sets can match and work together. And so, yeah, I fully agree. We could do a whole other podcast on that, misconceptions about human design.
Yes.
Um, is there anything else that you think that we should know when going into this? I feel like, actually, can I share so as you were saying, mistakes to avoid, I was thinking a lot of what you're saying about opening up communication is actually about asking questions. And I feel like that's such a big tip for everyone. When you start learning your partner's human design, your kid's human design, like go into it with curiosity rather than, oh, this is what you are, this is how you should be. Start asking questions as a base point, right? Mm,
100%. I
mm.
think that's really the big thing. It's like using the tool as like a form of curiosity and just deeper understanding because I think that we sometimes can just get so caught up in our own story and our own perspective on the way of seeing things, and everybody's got their own way of seeing things and their own
Yes.
perspective. So I think having a system that creates a language so that you can have an open and honest conversation
hmm
is just huge. And I
hmm
think the other thing, if like any of this is like sounding overwhelming, is like starting with yourself. Like when you understand your own human design, I mean, that is obviously like more than half the battle of anything. Because if you're being authentic, then that just totally changes the way people engage with you and the world feels for you. And I think too, just knowing, and I always say this when I'm giving individual readings to people, I'll be like, I haven't said this to anybody else before. And I just always feel the urge to say that because they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, and not everybody's design is so different. Like we so often think that other people operate the same or would see the
Yeah.
same as us. So that is one thing I would say. And the other thing that I love to share too about doing like these group readings is that unfortunately, often we have the hardest time seeing like the positive things in ourselves,
Yeah.
easier to believe negative things. And when I do these, like, have done like workshops with like larger teams, like 8 people or something like that, and I'll be saying, like, oh, XYZ, like you have this in your chart. And they'll be
Hmm.
like, oh, I don't really see that. And the whole room will be like, are you kidding me? You're so that. So like it's also just great because everybody else can like validate those things that maybe we aren't quite ready to see in ourselves. So it just creates this like camaraderie, especially when
Hmm.
it's already like a team that's getting along, obviously. But it
Yes.
really just helps to reinforce some of that like positive stuff that we're like, oh, my team sees me this way. Like I wouldn't have
Hmm.
known that otherwise. So
Yeah,
that's always like a nice thing that comes out of it.
exactly. And we're, like you said, reinforcing that we're in this together. We're learning about each other so that we can work together better, so that we can support each other better, so we can get whatever we're doing done. I love this.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. So is there anything else you want to share with us about group dynamics? Otherwise, I would love for you to share how people can get in touch with you and what you have coming up.
Yes. I mean, the only other thing that I would say is learning about it once doesn't change it. It's a lot to remember. So also
What do
knowing
you
that it's
mean?
like kind of
Isn't
our
this the magic bullet? What are you talking
yeah.
about?
Exactly. So it's kind of like we were even saying like we forget it and this is like we eat, sleep, breathe this. So like reminding people really like remembering what are the things that serve you the most. Like you can remind the people on your team, like, can you phrase this in a yes or no question? Can you give me something to respond to? Like
Mhm.
help people help you kind of thing. And know that that's like a big piece of the pie too, is like you kind of taking on that accountability to help the group dynamic as well.
Yes.
Um, and then as far as working with me, when it comes to doing any kind of group thing, whether it be like a larger family or like, a three or more type situation, or if you wanted to bring it to your workplace, teams, co-founders, all of those different kinds of things, I make it very customized. So you can just book a free consultation with me. So I'll send you the links for all of this stuff. I also do individual readings. I do business and career audits through the lens of human design, which is really fun. And I have a podcast called Practical Magic if you want to follow me there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is the best name for a podcast ever. Subscribing immediately. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Nicole. I just know that, like you have such a depth of knowledge and understanding about human design that can support people so well because you're looking at, the ways that we're different and then the ways that we're similar and how they just mesh together. And that is just a whole other level of this cosmic system that I'm excited for people to explore. It's like once you learn about yourself, you learn about others, you learn about how we go together. So thank you for coming and giving us this wisdom. This has been really illuminating, and I just know that so many people are going to listen to this and watch this, and they're going to feel validated in themselves and also empowered to help their teams and their families because so many of us like we care so much and we want to help and we want to figure out, okay, well, how can I elevate what we do? How can I make this smoother? And you just gave us so many tools to get ready to do that today. So thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
I love it. Fantastic. And goodbye to everyone. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you subscribe and love this podcast, and we will see you later.